Things I wanted to read for this morning for our Harmony Gym. One's funny and one is something to make you think. You know, I'm always giving you guys something to chew on. You know, I like to do that. The first thing is called skipping church. Father Norton woke up one Sunday morning and realized it was an exceptionally beautiful and sunny early spring day. Decided he just had to play golf. He told the associate pastor that he was feeling sick and persuaded him to say mass for him that day. Well, as soon as the associate pastor left the room, Father Norton headed out of town to a golf course about 40 miles away. This way he knew he wouldn't accidentally meet someone he knew from the parish. Setting up on the first tee, he was alone. After all, it was Sunday morning and everyone else was in church. About that time, St. Peter leaned over to the Lord while looking down from the heavens and exclaimed, "You're not going to let him get away with this, are you?" Lord sighed and said, no, I guess not. Just then, Father Norton hit the ball, and it shot straight towards the pin, dropping just short of it, rolled up and fell into the hole. It was a 420-yard hole-in-one. St. Peter was astonished. He looked at the Lord and said, "Why'd you let him do that?" The Lord smiled and replied, "Who's he gonna tell?" Lady hooky from church. Something really cool might happen, and you're not gonna be able to tell anybody. And my little chew on this story this morning. A friend of mine sent this to me, and I thought it was quite apropos for Memorial Day. I put my carry-on in the luggage compartment and sat down in my assigned seat. It was going to be a long flight. I'm glad I have a good book to read. Perhaps I'll get a short nap, I thought. Well, just before takeoff, a line of soldiers came down the aisle and filled all the vacant seats, totally surrounding me. I decided to start a conversation. "So where are you headed?" I asked the soldier seated nearest to me. Petawawa, I believe is the name of that, and we'll be there for 2 weeks for special training, and then we're being deployed to Afghanistan. After flying for about an hour, an announcement was made that the sack lunches were available for $5. It would be several hours before we reached the east, and I quickly decided lunch would help pass the time. As I reached for my wallet, I overheard a soldier ask his buddy if he planned to buy lunch. "No, it seems like a lot of money for just a sack lunch. Probably wouldn't be worth the $5. I'll wait till we get to base," his friend agreed. I looked around at the other soldiers. None were buying lunch. I walked to the back of the plane and I said I would get to this one. I love her. I walked to the back of the plane and handed the flight attendant a $50 bill. "Take a lunch to all those soldiers." She grabbed my arms and squeezed tightly. Her eyes wet with tears, she thanked me. "You know, my son was a soldier in Iraq. It's almost like you're doing it for him." Picking up the tin sack, she headed up the aisle to where the soldiers were seated. She stopped at my seat and asked, "Which do you like best, beef or chicken?" "Chicken," I replied, wondering why she asked. She turned and went to the front of the plane, returning a minute later with a dinner plate from first class. "This is your thanks," she said. After we finished eating, I went again to the back of the plane, headed for the restroom. A man stopped me. "I saw what you did. I just want to be a part of that. Here, take this." He handed me $25. Soon after I returned to my seat, I saw the flight captain coming down the aisle, looking at the aisle numbers as he walked. I hoped he wasn't looking for me. But I noticed he was looking at the numbers only on my side of the plane. When he got to my row, he stopped, smiled, held out my hand and said, "I want to shake your hand." Quickly unfastening my seatbelt, I stood and took the captain's hand. With a booming voice, he said, "I was a soldier and a military pilot. Once someone bought me lunch. It was an act of kindness I will never forget." I was embarrassed when applause was heard from all over the plane. Later, I walked to the front of the plane so I could stretch my legs. A man who was seated about 6 rows in front of me reached out his hand and wanted to shake mine. he left another $25 in my palm. When we landed, I gathered my belongings and started to deplane. Waiting just inside the airplane door was a man who stopped me to put something in my shirt pocket. He turned and walked away without saying a word. It was another $25. Upon entering the terminal, I saw the soldiers gathering for their trip to the base. I walked over to them and handed them the $75. It will take you some time to reach the base. It will be about time for a sandwich. God bless you. 10 young men left that flight feeling the love and respect of their fellow travelers. As I walked briskly to my car, I whispered a prayer for their return safe return. These soldiers were giving their all for their country, and I could only give them a couple of meals. So when you see our soldiers, you buy them lunch, you buy them a dinner, you buy them a soda, you do something for them. There's an urban legend that says a veteran is someone who at one point in his life wrote a blank check made payable to the United States of America for an amount of up to and including life to fight for our country. That's what Memorial Day is about. Remembering and commemorating